Well, that wasn't the intro that we were expecting, but how fitting is the closing of a door sound right now as Alabama has just gotten their tail whipped 24-3 and Norman, Oklahoma, where the Tide was favored to win by 14 points and coast into the playoffs. Well, there was a team that coasted tonight, but it was on the other side. It was senior night for Oklahoma Sooners, and they proceeded to end Alabama, glorify old country boy butt whooping. We're going to talk about it tonight. Welcome to the Bama Standard post game show. Before we get started, go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, live chat. Well, I don't have to get y'all involved because y'all are going to definitely do your job tonight. If you're watching the replay, get down in the comment section below. Let us know what you think, how you feel, and all that good stuff. And as always, our post-game shows are brought to you by none other than Title Towel. The season never truly ends, even if we don't make it to the playoffs, without your Title Towel. Make sure you go to whitwillsports.com today and grab your Title Towel. We got one more game to go, and that's the infamous Iron Bowl. So, yeah, visit them today at www.whitwillsports.com. I'm your host, Justin Riley. With me, as always, is a crew that's never short of speaking their mind, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about tonight. Right beside me from the final whistle and the opening kick, a man who has been in grief counseling all day long, the illustrious Daniel Petty. And then next to him, the queen of the Bama Standard Network, the host of Crimson Dynasty, Cece Payne.
Mm-hmm.
man.
That's all I can say right now. Don't get me started.
Just below her is arguably one of the biggest stars on the Bama Standard Network. He's definitely the star of the final whistle and maybe can tussle for the number one spot in the Crimson Dynasty, but we won't settle that out tonight. Welcome back, Dan James.
Man, tough one, man. Tough one.
Absolutely.
Uninspired. That's all I'm going to say. Uninspired.
And last but not least, former All-SEC defensive back for the Buffalo Bills, scout for the Buffalo Bills, one of the greatest evaluators of talent in the game, ladies and gentlemen, Gerald Smoke Dixon.
Man, what's going on?
Man, where do we start tonight, folks? Again, the emotions are running high. Yeah. A lot of things didn't start the way we expected, and for some people, their car remained stalled, and that is the Alabama Crimson Tide car. It remained stalled in the parking lot of the Gaylord Stadium, however you classify them as, but location does not essentially matter at this point. But let's talk about it. Oh, wait, one more person, last but not least, the man in the background who helps us become great, the Jonathan Lewis. What's going on, Jonathan?
I guess we got a lot to talk about.
We do have plenty to talk about. So, as we like to do with every post-game show, we love to give our immediate reactions. I think this may just end up taking up the entire show, but we're going to see where it goes. And I like to start out with none other than Coach Smoke Dixon, and then I'll go to Patty, then down to Dan, over to Jonathan, and let's see she round this out. Smoke, talk to me about what you saw earlier this week. You and Daniel Petty were on the opening kick, and you were going over the contenders and pretenders. I know that Daniel Petty gave his endorsement for Alabama, but you made it clear throughout the conversation that you didn't. I picked up on that, and I think a lot of what you were not saying manifests itself tonight on the field. Can you tell us exactly what led to this? Because we're kind of dumbfounded. It looks like we went in reverse. The team we saw against Vandy, the team we saw against South Carolina, and then against Tennessee just kind of manifested itself tonight. Norman, poor coaching, poor play, just all around, did not look prepared. And then you got an Oklahoma bunch that was senior night. They had something to prove. They had nothing to lose. Their coach's job, Brent Venables, was on the line. They love the man, so they're going to show up for the man. They showed up tonight, even though they were playing with third and fourth string players, albeit they play like all-stars. What happened? How did Alabama go from being one of the hottest teams in the country to being kicked out in the playoffs just like that?
Well, I'm gonna start backwards and work my way to the front. I don't believe they're kicked out of the playoffs. I mean, because when you look at the whole playoff scenario, there's a bunch of different ways that this thing can play out. And when you look at just college football in itself, I've said it, there's no dominant team. And the whole dominance of college football is now over with. Like, every single week that you look at it, it's a week-to-week game. Alabama's been playing all year has been inconsistent football. And when it's inconsistent football, there's times that you're going to be really high and there's times you're going to be really low. And just Alabama alums, fans, and what you've seen for the last 17 years, what you've seen is a model of consistency. And you haven't seen that this year. You've seen lows of losing to Vanderbilt, losing to Tennessee. You've seen beating Georgia, looking great, but then you come back to this. And I'm not somewhat surprised by the outcome of the game, because when you look at it, this is what Bama has been all year. They haven't been great against the run. And stats can show that they've been decent. But when you break the tape down, I'm still trying to figure out this defense. I've played football a good portion of my life, maybe 3/4 of my life. This 3-down, a 300-pound or 280-pound guy standing around the line of scrimmage, an off-the-line linebacker, I can't figure out where he fits and the run fits. I can't figure out where the linebackers are fitting. So if I can't figure it out, I'm pretty sure that the linebackers can't figure it out. And you just saw Oklahoma come into this game and said, you know what? We're just going to run the ball downhill at them because we don't believe they're tough enough. They're disciplined enough to understand how to fit up runs with the quarterback or just natural runs with the running back and get this done. But I'd hate to say I'm disappointed, but I saw this one coming down the pipeline. It's just it's a better team to execute at a higher level and just beat it out and just beat Alabama just all out. Disappointing, but that's just the truth. I didn't think this Alabama was a playoff team to begin with. I thought this was a 9-win team. That's what they are. That's what they're playing like. Rinse and repeat. I think Bama will come back next year and try to figure this out. But I think this year you can kind of just figure it out. And if they do get in the playoff, I'm not going to say I believe. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I know that they won't get into the second round and win a second game because this is an inconsistent team that lacks explosiveness, lacks discipline. And when they play against bad teams, they show up. When they play against good teams, get defeated. And when they play against inspired teams, they usually come out on the back end of it.
Buddy, I'm going to go to you because you're definitely not a person who shies away from speaking your mind. You definitely voiced that throughout the day and definitely in my group chat tonight as we watched the game. A lot of things didn't make sense. Yeah, we did lose Deontay Lawson and we did lose LT Overton, key pieces, albeit, but you still got to coach. You still got, put people in the right places. If a team is running the ball down your throat and just whipping you the point of attack, 3 down linemen ain't the way to go. Jackson Arnold didn't throw for over 100 yards. Well, actually, he did. He had 131, but at one point it wasn't that. But one glaring stat is this kid had over 100 yards rushing. And he looked like Johnny Manziel, and he's not Johnny Manziel. But help me make sense of all of this, because Kane Wommack's defense going into this game was red hot. It looked like everything started figuring out. The trial period had finally worked its way through. The kinks were gone. We had the right pieces. We had Bray Hubbard coming along, and he's been playing lights out. But then tonight, it just all went to crap. Help me figure this out.
You're asking me? I can't make sense of this shit. Like I'll be real. For the past 3 weeks, and I know people will look back, and I know Smoke brought up the deficiencies that caused the losses to Vanderbilt and on the road to Tennessee. But after that, it looked like a team that took a lot of the external turmoil and talk and pushed it away and kind of grew together and started kind of catching some momentum. It looked like a team that had found its identity on offense with kind of running with Milroe and hitting the big pass play when it was there. Also on defense, it felt like they were kind of starting to learn their roles in Kane Wommack's swarm defense. And every game's a playoff when you've got 2 losses. Everybody knows that. I don't know if they finally started hearing the press clippings, but yeah, I was in the swamp this morning for the Ole Miss game, and it was the same fucking song and dance. And it's 2 teams that me and Smoke talked about on Monday that look like the 2 hottest teams in college football. And then they go into environments today where 2 teams are playing carefree. Oklahoma's playing on senior night. Stutzman comes out like they've got nothing to lose. Alabama's now their Super Bowl. It's like, this season's lost, but if we can put it all in this, they get the game out of whack. But on the flip side, though, it shouldn't have mattered. They didn't have the damn talent. Early in the game, they're missing field goals. I mean, Bama's just keeping them in it, but they're shooting themselves in the foot left and right. But then Bama never made them pay for it. And I didn't, it was kind of mind-numbing because it was sloppy. There was no continuity in the offensive play calling. One drive, you come out, pass, 3rd and 10, Milroe dive. Then the next drive, you come out, run. Hell, the run's starting to get going. Then you go to the pass. I'm like, what? It's like there's no feel for the game, that we're just going off either analytics or we're going off, this is our style and we're going to stick to it. And it's just like we get there's no coaching based off feel or emotion or vibe anymore. And it was a very sloppy game on that point. And on the other side, you've got freaking Oklahoma, who's got the damn water boy at wide receiver at this point in the season. They're no threat at all to pass the ball. None. They're running. Their quarterback just ran for 100 yards. And you just said that wasn't Johnny Manziel. It's not like Jackson Arnold's running a 4-4 out there. I mean, he's just kind of I can't really wrap my brain around what happened tonight, how uninspired, how with so much to play on the line, that's the performance you get. And I'll be real, man, I've caught a lot of freaking heat. I'm sorry. You saw it tonight. That's your ceiling. He can't win it. I'm stop it right there. But
hold on. Are you upset at Jalen Milroe?
I'm not upset. The whole team played like crap, but come on, man. Like there's like it's time to put to bed the whole petty. You're jumping on him because of this or that. He is what he is. He's a good runner and a mediocre passer. And if he ain't got an offensive line blocking for him, which they didn't tonight, players not making plays, you're gonna get the product you get. Sorry.
I think Jalen Milroe is good enough to win a national championship, just like you had Jalen Hurst.
I do too.
At some point, player and coach got to mesh, and when you have a dynamic player, just as Jalen Milroe, you have to conform your offense towards his skill set.
Yes.
When you don't do that, there's a big separation, and there's a missing alignment. And what you saw today was just a team that wasn't aligned with the coaching staff. And when you go into games like this and you're on the road, there's a few things that need to happen. Your coach needs to be on his A game, which they weren't. Players need to be on their A game, which lack of execution. You saw from the interception when guys on the perimeter was not blocking. Jalen Milroe made a bad throw, fine. But you also saw in pass protection, big on big, you have big on small. And what I mean by that is you have your All-American potential left tackle blocking down when there's a big guy coming outside, and you have
and your running back blocking off a big end. It was just chaos.
So today was a combination of what we saw in the last few weeks, and everything looked great. You faced against an LSU team that, I mean, LSU is what they are. They're not good enough. Mercer is what Mercer is. South Carolina is just average as dirt. They're up and down. And Missouri is whatever. But when you go into a situation of playing against a team on the road that just fighting and throwing everything except the kitchen sink at you, this is where you have to say, my $10 million as a head coach, my $2 million of play caller on offense, my $2 million as a defensive coordinator, this is when I have to pull the players out and figure this one out as a coaching staff. You just haven't seen that all year. And I don't mean to come on here and crush coaches and players, and it's not. It's a combination of if you're being paid to do and you're being asked to do and you're a player to do, you do. And when you have a team that's a bunch of backups and third stringers, you're supposed to win. This is one of the worst losses I've seen in a long time, and I've been a part of a lot of them.
And I want to echo. I agree with you. I think Milroe absolutely is good enough to win a title with, but you got to use him the right way, and that it wasn't done tonight.
Right.
Well, what happens when you face a team that essentially renders that obsolete, where you're forced to do something different? I knew at some point we're going to run into a situation to where that was going to be neutralized. It was going to work. And would we show growth from that, or would we see what played out before our eyes against Tennessee? And tonight we saw which one played out. But Dan, I want to get to you. You've waited patiently, and I'd love to hear what you've got to say. And correction, Jackson Arnold only passed for 68 yards, and he ran for 131 yards. So, yeah, he didn't even have to throw it 100 yards to be effective today. But Dan, what did you see? I know your frustrations were running wild. Is there anything that maybe we haven't covered yet that you saw that ultimately led to the outcome?
No, I just saw, the difference in the game was two things. One team was inspired, one team wasn't. One team came in prepared, one team didn't. And that's what it was. Because you look at the play call, both teams pretty much called the same plays. One team executed, the other team didn't. Their quarterback runs worked, ours didn't. They played 9 at a time in the box to stop it. We didn't. We continued, with 5, 6 in the box. They gashed us. There was no one setting the edge on the outside runs. Period. It wasn't there all game. And we executed very poorly. And on the sideline, your quarterback, you have a turnover. Most coaching staffs, I've been watching football a long time. You get on the sideline, the quarterback he's either on the headphone, on the phone, he's talking to somebody. You know what I'm saying? There's no communication going on the sideline. That is puzzling to me. I don't understand. There's no communication, no coaching going on the sideline. They want to do the same thing. Poor execution. Lack of preparedness, and I man, this right here leaves a bad taste in my mouth. You go on the road, and one team is inspired. We're their Super Bowl, and we go in there like we could care less. We're supposed to be in the playoff just because we're Bama. That's the mentality that we had, and it's frustrating the lack of fight that we've seen from this team. I'm gonna just leave it at that because I don't have anything else, nice to say.
Okay. That's fine. You did just fine, Dan. I appreciate that. And I did notice something in the chat from Amber Nicole. She mentioned this is the first time in 13 years that Alabama has failed to score a touchdown. So add that to the cap of wonderful things we saw play out. Jonathan, talk to me. You've been quiet and you've had a lot of time to kind of mull over things. And one of the things that's been yet to be discussed here is something that you and I discussed during the game, that it looked as though Oklahoma knew exactly what was coming every single play. And Jackson Arnold basically audibled out of it immediately. And we had no answer whatsoever. Talk to me about what you saw from that perspective and how we weren't able to do anything about it.
I want to start off with the coaching. I think the coaching's it's got to be near the top to blame. This team came in unprepared. Alabama now shows a strong trend of coming off big wins, whether you consider that LSU win a big win or not, the blowout win, right? And using almost the identical playbook into the following game, which is how I think Oklahoma once again predicted what was coming. So it seemed like it was simple audibles that Jackson Arnold was making or adjustments at the line. And it was like every single time they were just running away from the run blitz, the fits. It happened on a consistent basis. I mean, there's so much to this. They were more physical than us. We made no adjustments, hardly at all, by the way. From what I saw, I'm not a coach. I don't know how much to read into it or not, or I wasn't a player. It seemed like there was a total lack of adjustments. But I had a really, really bad feeling about this game when that interception happened, when Kobe Prentice basically stood there and let a DB walk right by him and get an interception. The lack of effort from him, the lack of effort from a lot of players, Elijah Pritchett and Caden Proctor both got whooped. We couldn't figure out the blitz. I mean, this was almost a repeat, in my opinion, of the Vanderbilt game. I mean, I don't think it was much different. Yeah, I mean, much different, to be honest. They weren't doing anything overly complicated. We're going to hand the ball off, and you're going to stop us. We don't care about the passing game. And we had no answer. We had bad turnovers. And I knew it was bad, too, the moment I saw Burnham not punting the ball well. And I'm like, he's been the one consistent guy for us all year. Now that can't even go well. And I know a lot of people are going to get in here and blame the refs and say there was bad. And, yeah, there were bad calls. But this game was over the moment the coin toss happened. So, this was a terrible one. And just a few more quick things, and I'll move on. The O-line couldn't hold up, right? So, plain and simple, Jalen had maybe 2 to 3 seconds to throw the ball. I'm not going to put all the blame on him because he doesn't deserve all the blame. The dude had no time to do anything. So that's another one. The lack of getting down the field from the receivers. It seemed like a lot of times these guys were lollygagging down the field. It just seemed like, I don't know. And Milroe was inaccurate tonight. Let's not get it twisted. There was a lot of simple passes that could have got a lot more yards, but it was just a little bit better of a throw. But I think the big one is, and including the injuries, the drops. We had, 4 drops in the first half? Something like that. So I think OU came in with the mentality of having nothing to lose. And they were going to play hard. And Alabama just decided that we're Alabama and we're going to win this game and we deserve to be in the playoffs. And it's, in my opinion, it's the coach's responsibility to get these players up to the standard they're supposed to be playing to, not to quote Nick Saban there. And it just didn't happen tonight.
And plus, they have the added confidence of knowing that they had the script play for play of what Alabama was going to do, knowing that full well Alabama is not going to deviate from any of that. No, there is no creativity whatsoever. It's like you said, we're going to run the LSU game plan for a team that's not LSU. The LSU didn't have a defense that Oklahoma has. And it's funny, we talk about the LSU game. It's kind of reverse. Against LSU, you could tell where Alabama broke their will, and it was over from a certain standpoint. You kept on thinking, okay, LSU is going to come back. They're going to come back, and they never did. Alabama had them broken. Well, the flip happened here. Oklahoma had us whipped. And I said it early in the game. There was something in our demeanor, and the way we were doing things and not executing that told me we're already done. It amazed me. I thought we had turned that page, but apparently we had not. And listen, they just watched the Vanderbilt tape. That's really all they had to do, because verbatim, you saw the same play calls over and over and over, and Alabama had no answer. But CC, I'm taking away from your time, and we definitely could use one of your well thought out rants, and I am giving you the floor to execute that to perfection. And a lot of the people in the chat have been waiting patiently, so go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be real. I mean, I could care less. Like, we're not doing that. No. This was probably the worst game in my life that I've ever seen from Alabama. This was the worst. This was complete garbage, complete trash. It was not worth watching. We could have stayed in Tuscaloosa for that garbage. Like, it was a failure on every single level since the start of the game. We came out there looking like we didn't know what to do. You could tell that the players weren't confident in that raggedy so-called game plan. We literally, Dan, everything that we talked about on the Crimson Dynasty this week, everything that we said that Alabama should do, we did the opposite. Everything that we should have done, they did. It was pathetic. And it makes me wonder, you have Nick Sheridan sitting up there looking like a squirrel. You have Kane Wommack on the sideline looking like a fool. I'm done. I'm so done. Like all this trash that we see, it was the same garbage that we saw this entire season. So we played Georgia and we beat Georgia, right? And then we go to Vanderbilt and look like crap. Same thing with Tennessee. Like I'm so tired of it. But let me just calm down. Y'all, I had to turn my fan on because I started getting mad. The more and more I'm thinking about it, because see, we ride for Alabama. Those who know. Like people like, these fair weather fans, that's not who we are. But I'm gonna call it like it is. It was complete garbage. Coach DeBoer is soft. He needs to get a backbone. These raggedy coaches. Why is Nick Sheridan still there? Jalen Milroe should have been pulled in the second quarter. I don't care what any of y'all have to say. You say what you want to say. At the end of the day, the same things that we did wrong tonight are the same things that we did wrong in the Vanderbilt game and the Tennessee game. He's trying to run the ball himself. Look at how Texas beat Oklahoma at Oklahoma. They only let Oklahoma score, I think, 3 points. You didn't see Texas quarterback running all over the place. Jalen Milroe was running all over the place, whether it was a QB design run or maybe he couldn't find an open receiver. He couldn't see anybody. Them raggedy throws that he was making, 3 interceptions against Oklahoma. You talking about Oklahoma that only scored 3 points against Texas, or the Oklahoma that only scored 9 points against South Carolina? That's the Oklahoma that we lost to. Then are you serious? Look, y'all say what y'all want to say. I'm glad that you had me go last. I was sitting over here trying to be quiet. I kept my microphone muted for a reason, but I'm done with all this, like this garbage that we sit up here and talk about. I don't care what anybody has to say about Jalen Milroe. He should have been benched. I mean, look at our game against Mercer. Nick Sheridan set his raggedy behind up there in that box in that game when he could have opened the playbook. That was the perfect opportunity, which we should have already done, but that was the perfect opportunity to come up with something creative. And he sits up there. He got Oklahoma. They literally making us look like Auburn tonight. Literally 3 points. Are you freaking? That was, and then we got those 3 in the first quarter. What is that? That's not Alabama. Like literally, like honestly, what I'm wearing right now, I started to just wear all black because I'm mad. Like I'm just mad because I'm just like, this is pitiful. This is it's completely embarrassing. We go out there, we act like we don't even want to be there. We're at some raggedy Oklahoma. Them fans should have been going home at the beginning of the third quarter. Why were they still there? They up there cheering. This win ain't gonna do anything for them. They had like 5 losses already, so it's not gonna do anything for them. But my thing is just like, where is the pride, Alabama? Like we used to have pride. I forget this NIL crap, all this stuff that they want to do on social media. None of that means anything if it's not a W at the end of the week. Like I don't know what else to say. It's the same trash. Nick Sheridan doesn't understand anything. They're so inconsistent. And what I'm noticing is that they only want to call decent plays. They only want to show up when it seems like it's a game that matters. But then when it's in Oklahoma, it's almost like they look at the teams that haven't been doing that well, or teams that are not necessarily known to be that good, like a Vanderbilt. And then they just like, it's like they just overlook it. That's not Coach Saban. Every single game, if you didn't want to come out there and act like it was a game that was worth winning, you were not going to play. So I don't even like all this garbage that we be sitting up here talking about. I'm not playing patty cake. No, like this is done. That's 3 losses. Are you freaking serious? No, smoke. No, I'm about to finish what I got to say because we're not going to sugarcoat anything. I sat up here and waited almost 30 minutes to say what I have to say. I'm tired of playing this game. Jalen Milroe should have been freaking benched. I'm tired of them showing favoritism. You have Jam, and then when Jam Miller was getting the freaking ball, he was getting yards. So why we keep having Milroe run? Y'all know that they're going to shut him down. They know that he's good with his legs. Why are y'all relying on his run? You got was Emmanuel Henderson Jr. out there? I mean, it's just Kendrick Law. Did he get any? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. They know that you're going to throw the ball to Ryan. We can sit up here and we can talk about the refs all day long. And yeah, they suck, but it shouldn't even come down to that. We should have had a good enough lead to where even if the refs wanted to act stupid like they did, it didn't cost us the freaking game. This was embarrassing. I'm done because the same garbage that we saw when he should have been pulled in that Tennessee game. It's like, and I remember asking that question on one of the post game shows. How many games do we have to lose in order for them to actually see, okay, hey, we have other quarterbacks. Don't just remember that game. I think when we played, I want to say Mississippi State or somewhere on the road, and we needed to pull Tua, but they didn't pull him they had to pull him. He got injured. You know, it was either Ole Miss or Mississippi State. It doesn't matter. But my point is that these coaches don't know what they're doing. Their salaries should not be as high as they are. Certain ones should have already been fired. And where was Kane Wommack's dad on the sideline tonight?
Didn't see him. He didn't have his switch out, but yeah.
I mean, this is like, look, like I said, I turned my fan on because I knew I was about to go off. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just I'm not going to start cursing or anything like that. We're going to keep it clean. But this is straight pathetic. It's embarrassing. We went out there and we made Oklahoma think that there's somebody just like we did Vanderbilt. We literally made them look like and I'm not trying to say that they're just garbage, but you mean to tell me to say, well, we struggled against South Carolina, but Missouri just beat them. We blew Missouri out. They had all those injured guys. Like, are you serious?
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
I
don't see anything wrong in what you're saying at all.
No excuses.
Real quick, I hope everybody that's been in the Daniel Petty fan club all season heard that was Cici saying all that. And there you go.
So,
she's great.
Real quick, Center for Life. We're not saying that Oklahoma didn't have a great defense and we're not dummies.
They had one of the best defenses.
Absolutely. Now they may not look good.
I'm tired of the excuses. The excuses went out the door when we got
great. How
do we lose 2 games before?
Been able to shut down.
Well, here's the thing. How do we?
Garbage. All of it is garbage. None of it matters because we keep doing the same thing. We need to roll up in Tuscaloosa, send the board back to Washington, send Kane Wommack right on back down to South Alabama because he don't know and send Nick Sheridan wherever he needs to go because this is garbage. Like, what is this? I'm tired. Like, I'm done. We said this when we lost to Vanderbilt. Like, come on.
Any chance can I get one? Can we have a quick conversation real quick, Cici?
I mean, we can have a conversation, Smoke, but you can't tell me that Milroe should not have been benched. I'm tired of people.
No. He's not going to disagree with you.
He ain't going to disagree with you.
I got some smoke tonight. Look, you're going to be calling me Smoke Junior tonight because I got some smoke tonight.
I'm
not for you, but y'all talk slick in them comments. It's showtime because I done seen some stuff tonight and I got time tonight. Y'all better act like y'all got some sense tonight.
All right, Smoke, what you got?
So I got 3 questions for you. All right. So when you bench Jalen Milroe, who you going with?
Ty Simpson. I don't. Let me tell you something. But if you're doing that bad, what do you have to lose? That's my point. My point is that what other teams do you see saying that? I mean, look at Quinn Ewers when Texas played Georgia. Yeah, they still ended up losing that game, but Sarkisian didn't have a problem with pulling him out, even if it's a matter of, okay, let's let his nerves settle a little bit. Like, my thing is like, it's not to say that he's horrible because he's not at all. But if you can tell that something is off, why do we have to keep costing ourselves an entire game just to speak what's actually, we're saying the quiet parts out loud. Why he keep running the ball when we have the best running backs? Why he can't see certain guys that are either wide open or he keeps going like, why are we so predictable? This is embarrassing. This is pitiful. Y'all can shut up in that chat with that Sooner stuff because y'all have 5 losses going in. Like, this win ain't doing nothing for y'all. Just remember that. Like, come on now.
Well, they're gonna go bowling. They're gonna
go ahead. Enjoy Memphis.
So
it's nothing to be happy about. What I'm just saying.
So I know you want to bench Milroe, and I'm not going to say that you can't. You're the head coach right now.
Mm-hmm.
So early on in the game, in the first, I think it was the second drive, when Jalen threw the ball to CJ dropped the ball.
Mm-hmm.
In order for this to get to a first down. That was a miss on CJ's part.
It was on CJ, yeah.
Okay. Then he comes back in a critical drive again, throws a ball to CJ, and CJ drops it again. That was another critical third down. Then he throws the ball to number 5, Bernard, and he drops it again. Another critical one. So I understand what you're saying of benching Milroe, but I don't believe in just a one-sided issue of this is Milroe's fault.
I didn't say that. The very first thing I said it's a failure on all levels.
I know you're not. I'm not saying that you're saying, but I'm just saying benching Milroe does not solve the issue at hand.
It doesn't solve the issue, but it shows that you're actually trying to do something to fix the problem. I mean, it's the same thing in the game against Tennessee. It's the same thing. I mean, my thing is like, even if you put Ty Simpson in for a few reps, like, my God, how bad, like, how many times do we have to 3 interceptions? That's one of the best defenses. Jalen has been here before. He knows how to win the big games. So my thing is like, if he clearly looks like something is off, maybe that'll do him some good. Yeah, I agree. The wide receivers, Kobe Prentice, certain ones, but I feel like that's why I said at the beginning of what I said, everything was off from the start to the bottom. The coaches, the receivers couldn't catch nothing. Like everything, the O-line, everything, completely everything. Like I mean, but like I said, sometimes when what you're doing is not working, change something.
So what I'm saying is this a combination of all. This is a combination of a coaching staff not putting together good enough product on the football field to win
Yeah.
games, not putting together a good enough scheme to out scheme Brett Venables, which is known for stealing signals and known for anticipating calls. And if you play the same way, same formation, same situational play calling, he's gonna hit you across the head. And if we keep bringing up Nick Saban into the conversation, Kalen DeBoer is never going to ever live up to the expectation. He's not good enough, not close enough, and I don't think he's ever going to get
Why
on
do
the
we hire him
same
then?
pedestal. Well, why?
No one is.
Now that has nothing to do with you and I. All you and I can do is just talk about what we see.
Smoke,
And what
look.
Right.
hold on, let me finish. And what we see is a product that's not good enough. But the product that's on the field is just the same across the United States. Once Nick Saban left football, college football, the dominant football play is now over. Everybody's just playing above average football, not good enough, and there's one team that's playing good enough football, and that's Oregon. It's just a rotation of just what it is.
I get it, Smoke. I get it, but okay, but Smoke, let me, and I'm gonna end it, but I waited about 30 minutes to say what I had to say, and I let y'all did all y'all talking. What my point is that Coach DeBoer, the way that all the talk was when he got hired, he's a winner, he's done this, he's done that, that's fine. And I get that sometimes it takes time, but my thing is like 1 + 1 still equals 2. So when you're calling ridiculous plays, I mean, I put a lot of it on the play calling. It seems like they just don't understand football. My thing is like, it's not even necessarily SEC because Oklahoma, this is their first year in the SEC. It seems like it's just basic play calling. Nick Sheridan doesn't understand how to read defenses and call plays appropriately, and vice versa with Kane Wommack. But at the end of the day, my thing is like Jalen Milroe, he's a leader on the team. You can tell the influence and the impact that he has with the other players. And so my thing is that even when it's catchable passes, or if he doesn't have Oklahoma breathing down his back, something has to give. If what you're doing is not working, change something. Yeah, we can try to run up to that box or call up to the box, but at the end of the day, if those are the plays that are being called, it's my understanding that doesn't Jalen Milroe, he can change some plays if he really needs to, right?
He can all boy out.
Well, here's the thing. He's not capable of doing that. Like cognitively, he does not read the game or see the game that fast. The game is still playing fast for him. And that's what I'm saying. When everyone wants to go to the backup quarterback because it's the easiest thing to do, your right tackle and your left tackle aren't protecting well enough. There's flaws within your protection overall, period. What is Ty Simpson going to do when he comes?
So you just let it implode.
I think here's where I am. This is what they are. There are 3 lost teams. They'll get to some bowl. If they get into the playoffs, so what? But they're not good enough to get into the conversation of winning a national championship. I've come to grips with that. I've seen it from the first, second, third game. I saw it from spring practice. Listen, love the energy, and I think you are a true fan and you bleed crimson through and through.
You know it.
So do I. Right? But I've come to the realization that there's a certain group that needs to prep for national championship. This ain't it. At this time.
Well, someone who definitely needs to share what they think is Dan. Dan, you mentioned in our private chat you had something to follow up with this. What's on your mind, brother? And then we can kind of start moving a different direction because we still have some other things to touch on. Iron Bowl's next week. And, hey, recruiting doesn't stop, and we're getting close to signing day. What we do now, what's happened tonight may directly impact that. But, Dan, go ahead before we move on.
I want to say, the perfect time to bench Milroe was after that second, I think it was the second pick, the pick 6 was the effort that he gave on that tackle. That would have been the perfect time to do it. You can make, mistake. You had guys running open. You just wasn't seeing the field, and just because you're benching on me, you're not putting them back in. It's okay to bench them, sit them down for a series or whatever. Talk to them, but we're not communicating with the quarterback on the sideline. So, you might as well put whoever in there. You know what I'm saying? If you're not talking to your quarterback, you're not communicating with your quarterback, and he is what he is. He is what he is as a passer. If we're trying to win this game, we're not trying to do what's best for Jalen Milroe, we have to do what's best for Alabama. You understand what I'm saying? So if this game gets so important to it, and sometimes you might get in over your head. Maybe Milroe was in over his head. So us as coaches, we know we got to put the team in position to be able to succeed on the field. You understand what I'm saying? So sometimes benching the quarterback is not the end all be all. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you just have to sit them. You know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. And I think we come to that point. But now, why would you? We got the Iron Bowl coming up. So, we
I can't wait till Ty Simpson gets
or whatever. But now we got the Iron Bowl coming up that we need to win. So we got to play the. Are we gonna go into the Iron Bowl with bad series after bad series and continue to ride with Jalen Milroe? That's the question I want to pose to the coach.
Okay. All right. Before we get to that discussion, I want to give a shout out again to Title Towel. Listen, your Alabama season is not fully complete unless you're waving your Title Towel. Yes, we may have lost tonight, but we got the Iron Bowl next week. And if you do not have your Title Towel, then what are you really doing? Go to whitwillsports.com today. Enter the promo code STANDARD. You get you a nice little discount courtesy of your favorite network, the Bama Standard Network. And listen, y'all have been waiting patiently in the chat. We got some super chats to get to. We are greatly appreciative of your donations. First of all, we want to give a shout out to TCB, a new member. Thank you so much for purchasing a membership to our network. Then we'll go to Qbert 3343 $9.99. Yes, Nick Sheridan is terrible, but his play sheet is limited. Jalen Milroe has gotten Tommy Rees fired. Now Nick, terrible plays, but we don't have faith in our quarterback. And their play calls tell the story. And former Alabama offensive lineman Chris Owens, $1.99. All he says is unbelievable. EWC clothing, $4.99. I will never know why we don't use our running backs. Oh, guess who? Don Parker. There isn't much to talk about. I saw this coming last week with the performance. I'm horrified by the lack of improvement from the LSU game. Hate to say it, but in the words of CM Punk, was I telling lies? EWC clothing, $4.99. Bench Milroe. Then we got LaMarcus, $4.99. Get Milroe. The Heisman ball cost Bama another game. Michael's got a question. Do any of you think that Nick Sheridan had no answers for what Oklahoma was doing? Because I think a more experienced offensive coordinator would have called a different game. Who wants to take that? Jonathan, we hadn't heard from you in a while. Can you address this?
I think Nick Sheridan's very limited on what he calls. I think it's pretty obvious when you go back and watch the previous games when we have a big win, and it's very limited on the following game. I don't know. I think the more worrisome thing to me is this. Guys, Oklahoma doesn't have an offensive coordinator. They fired him.
They were going without a coordinator.
I didn't think about that till now, but they don't even have a freaking coordinator on and yet our coordinator can't figure out what's going on. And look, and another thing, I know this guy hasn't got any attention, and I think he deserves a little bit of heat for this. Jamarcus Shepard, bro. Where is the receiver development? You got a lot of talent. You can't tell
okay, John, can I stop you right there? They don't have a lot of talent.
You don't think there's a lot of talent?
Absolutely not. If your best receiver on your football team is a 17-year-old that double catches a lot of balls, and I think he's going to be fine. No, they don't. Your second best receiver is a transfer that came from Washington. So remove the 17-year-old and remove the transfer from your team. What do you have? Not good enough. You have to be able to get open against college defensive backs. I understand that the quarterback takes a bunch of the blame, but I think at the end of the day, a lot of Alabama fans just have to realize you aren't as talented as you once were before. Everyone's caught up to you. The coaching is evened out. The players are evened out. And this is what it is. You're just an above average football team, which is fine if you want to get into that category. But you're not the elite dominant team like you once were with Nick Saban rolling up for those 17 years and just bludgeoning everybody.
Mm.
Facts are the facts.
Yeah.
The offensive line looks good, but they're not playing good. Your receivers for the last 5 years, not good enough. That receiver room that you've been recruiting, not good enough. The running backs aren't good enough. The defensive backs aren't good enough, and there aren't enough difference makers on the defensive line. It's just a solid team. We can blame Jalen Milroe all we want, but the facts are the facts. You just are an above average football team. You're not the dominant road graders you were once before. That's just it.
So, I mean, so my question to you, Smoke, is you don't think that these receivers can improve throughout the season in this system?
Yeah, you can improve, but the improvement that you're looking for, you're not going to see. Right? And the reason why you're not going to see it, for the simple fact that the dominant traits that you're looking for, you're looking for Ruggs.
Oh,
You're
no.
looking for-
I'm
you're
not
looking for Waddle.
I'm not asking for that.
So what are you looking for?
Did you guys see Law tonight?
He's not a receiver.
No, I understand.
He's a
No,
running back.
I understand that, but earlier in the season, we at least attempted to get him the ball in some sort of fashion, even if it's off a
How?
sweep or
How?
something, because
It's
he has the speed.
But
It's the same-
Smoke,
use him.
it's
But
the same
question.
guy. It's just, go ahead. Talk
I'm
to me.
sorry, excuse me.
No, shoot it. No, you're good.
I'm sorry. So how can we say basically that I'm just gonna focus on the receivers, that the receivers it sounds like you're saying they're not good enough, but a
Yeah.
lot of them, like the E-Man, Henderson Jr.'s, Kobe Prentice, Kendrick Law, a lot of them were recruited under Coach Saban though, Are you saying they're not developing maybe?
I've never once told you that what Coach Saban did in his last years was good enough. They're not good enough. E-Man, Law, Prentice. Listen, Prentice was actually committed to the University of Maryland. If anybody don't know that, he was
Yeah.
committed to the University of Maryland. Yeah.
Mhm.
Bama flipped him at the end of that guy's right down the street from me. If you didn't realize that he was that good or good enough, the only reason why you figured that out is because Maryland had him committed and Maryland recruited him. So at the end of the day, Prentice is not in the same category as those 5 or 6 first or second round draft picks that you had. The last draft pick that was at Alabama, as in terms of receivers, was Burton. Burton's a transfer.
Come on, Smoke. Because because to me, what I see now, I value and I appreciate your opinion because I know that your expertise is, different because it's from a coaching perspective. So I can respect that. But what I see is I see really good receivers who have not been developed the way that they should be. I mean, because think about even with quarterbacks and even guys from different position groups, think about it, Smoke. These guys have to develop. I mean, you're not going to always have guys that come in like Ryan Williams or how Julio Jones came in where they're just superb. That's rare, right? But I feel like
can I say something real quick?
that.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah,
Julio Jones was not developed to become a college receiver.
he can't.
Julio
That's what I'm
Jones-
saying.
Julio
But I'm
Jones
saying-
he got better in the NFL. Ryan Williams has not gotten better since day one that he's been there. He's still running the same routes. He's getting jammed up at the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
He's not understanding how to
Yeah.
use leverage and get free access. So at the end of the day, do you want to blame this receiver coach or the one before? But either way, none of them are developing these guys. The facts are the facts. Whoever's coaching the offensive line, they have not given up that many sacks, but these guys aren't playing better. So it's the simplest fact is this is what it is.
So who do we blame then?
Yeah.
It's a combination of all. They're not good enough. This is a 10-win team. 10-win team is fine if that's a category that you want to get with.
That's not the category we want to get with. That's the thing, Smoke. It's not good enough. I
Listen,
don't want that.
Well, listen, we need to
Nick
kind of.
Saban has left the building. There's only been one Nick.
Yep.
Everybody else fall into the same category as just an above average coach. The board is just an above average coach. It is what he is. Don't fight it. Just accept it.
We need to
If you
fight
want-
it. We don't know. We're not going to
listen.
accept it.
Fine.
No.
Dan, what do you got?
I understand it, but was Vandy's O-line good enough? I mean, was Vandy's receivers good enough?
No, they
You
weren't.
know, I mean,
No.
Talent
they weren't.
wise.
They weren't.
yeah. So
Listen. Clark Lee's a damn good football coach. I've
Yeah.
worked with him. Okay.
right,
And you might just need to give more credit to Clark Lee for understanding what he has and how he uses it. And might need to take some credit away from the other guy that has more talent that's not using it the same. So,
That's true.
So what I do is I just view it as this, what it is.
Right.
If you have better players and your players aren't playing up to that capability, it's on the coaches. If your team comes out there and they're not prepared to play, coaches. If your players aren't executing the plays that are being called, it's a combination of both. Players not executing and coaches not coaching it up. It's an old motto. It's either coaching it or allowing it. And I think they're doing both.
Absolutely. Real quick, breaking news: Auburn has beaten Texas A&M 43-41 in overtime. And
While we're looking down.
Well, 4 overtimes, and let's point this out. The only thing stupider than the fucking football that I saw today is the freaking 2-point conversion overtime rule. That is dumb as shit. That's not real football. Why don't we just do a soccer free kick or some dumb shit? That's not football.
Hey, Petty, can I ask you a question real quick?
Yes.
Okay, what did I tell you in the opening segment of Opening Kick last week? There aren't any more dominant football teams since Nick Saban retired.
Now they're done.
College football is week to week. There's only one team that, when you look at, don't have a bunch of holes on their team, and it's Oregon.
Ohio State.
That's fine. We can debate that, but I think at the end of the day, those are the best football teams in college football. Everybody else is just fighting weekly.
I agree.
Just stay in the fight.
And everybody's got major flaws. That's the deal. It's not just that teams aren't great, Smoke. It's every team has serious flaws. Yeah. Look, Alabama's new coaching and young guys and things not flowing. I mean, it just
not good enough.
And you also don't have the depth that Alabama is accustomed to over the course of
and that's something Tyler Siskey talked about on our show. When Alabama was beating everybody, it wasn't because their 1 through 22 was so much better than everybody they played. It's because 40 through 65 was better than your 1 through 22. And that 40 through 65 is now dispersed through every other team. And we can whine, cry over these days, but guys, this is the college football world now. This is the playoff world, and you just better hope you have your shit together every night, or you're going to lose games like this now. Because, like Smoke said, there aren't complete. And even those complete teams are very beatable. I know you say Oregon and Ohio State; those teams are absolutely damn beatable.
Agreed.
Well, let's get to some of these super chats. Thank you again. 334 girl, $9.99. Can't be mad. We're just in the twilight zone, and we say high tide now. That commercial.
High tide.
Don Parker, $5. Ran the exact same plays Vandy did, and then we got Antonio Russell. I'm just going to read through these real quick, and just thank you as we go because we have so many of them, and we got some other topics to get to. Antonio Russell, $5. We greatly appreciate you. Larez Moody, $5. Greatly appreciate that. Antonio Russell again, $2. JD Long, $9.99. And then let's keep going. Larez Moody again, $2. TCB, $2. Jason Haywood, $5. Nelson, $1.99. Amber Nicole, $2. Dave Portnoy, Rat Poison, Alabama. Absolutely agree with that. and he has money just to throw away.
And that dumbass gave all his money for a high school quarterback. What an idiot. I'm calling a guy that makes millions of dollars. I'm an idiot. Just kidding, Dave. You're brilliant. Sorry.
Don Parker, we got $5. Larez Moody, $2. 334 girl, $4.99. Don Parker, $2. See, she ain't telling
lies. No, she wasn't.
Nelson, $1.99. TCB, $2. And Lamarcus, $4.99. Good night. Hold on a second. Sorry. There's so many of them. It's causing the whole thing to go out of whack here.
That's what you just described college football today.
Yeah, Don Parker, $5. Don Parker, $5. Jeff Merriman, $19.99. Way offsides. When you're not watching us, check out their podcast. Great content coming from them. Boom Owens, $2. Next King, $4.99. We got us a new member to the network, Brandon Lee. Thank you so much. And we got several more $2 from Boom Owens. Okay, I think we're about caught up there. So
Man, thank
thank you
y'all
so
so
much.
much.
All right, so let's talk about Bama going forward. This may strike a nerve, but there's several things on the horizon to talk about. The Iron Bowl is next week, but also too, we need to talk about the recruiting impact here recently. Dawson Merritt out, Turbo Rogers out, Caleb Cunningham out. We got Ivan Taylor in. Now the LSU is having their meltdown. Derek Meadows is possibly back in the picture, but then again, Bryce Underwood may be tugging at him to follow him over there to Ann Arbor. Yeah. Justice Terry is still sitting out there. And now Coach Prime is coming for Michael Carroll. So that's in doubt. After the events tonight, getting embarrassed on national TV by a team you should have beaten by at least 14 points, possibly more. What impact does this have on recruiting? Jonathan, we talked about it a little bit. If you would weigh in on this, and then we'll go to our lead recruiting analyst, Dan, and then we'll go to C. Then Daniel and Smoke talk to us about the direct effect the results of tonight have on what I just talked about. Start me off. Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's going to have that much. I mean, it could. I'm not too keen on how these recruits feel about these type of games. I've seen so many flips already this year. The NIL has played so much into this. And Daniel, to even get back to you talking about Dave Portnoy to Michigan, to back that up even more is actually a company that came in that joined with Michigan to actually get Bryce Underwood up to Ann Arbor. So there's a lot more to it. This guy's going to make between 12 and 15 million, to put that perspective. So the NIL is officially now taken over, if it wasn't already, in my opinion. And it's, I mean, I don't know how much this is going to affect our recruiting. We already lost Caleb Cunningham, it seems. I think we can hold on to the rest for the most part. And me personally, I'm actually kind of impressed with what we've held on to and what we have at Alabama under Kalen DeBoer, because I didn't have super high expectations with Kane Wommack and this other staff that's really not that SEC oriented. So, I mean, I'm going to accept what we have this year and pay more attention to next year. But yeah, I really can't speak on how I think it's going to affect it because I really don't know.
Dan, you're in with the recruiting part of this whole process. What are your thoughts? You have inside information usually, and you feed it to us as you get it. How are you feeling, and what are you possibly hearing?
Yeah, believe it or not, outcomes of football game, they don't have the most effect they have is perception. You know, yeah. Teams can use it like when they negatively recruit us, you know, but it's three things now that the biggest decision makers and deal breakers in college football recruiting right now. That's NIL, relationships, and proximity to home. Those three, what I'd say about 80% of recruits going to make their decision based off of. Mm-hmm. So, you know, teams put together nice NIL package, and then, you know, just like with the Underwood situation, you know, hey, it's you know, to stay home, you know, I can get to make so much to stay home, you know, so that's a, you know, almost an immediate win for Michigan, you know, so, yep. You know, but in recruiting, another thing you want to look at, especially with as far as Bama goes, you want to follow the visits. So we're gonna see who shows up for the Iron Bowl, you know, and then we'll tend to have a better understanding. You know, the last weekend, you know, a win would have really helped us. You know, now there's a little lust off the Iron Bowl. Now the only thing going on in the Iron Bowl is, you know, state pride. So it's still a big game, you know. So recruits they're gonna be electric atmosphere, I expect, you know, because when these two teams play, you throw the records out the window. So you want to see who comes in, especially, you know, our commitments. You know, you want to see who's gonna show up for the Iron Bowl. We expect Michael Carroll to be back on campus, which is good. It'll be his first time back on campus since the Colorado, you know, visit, which he was very high on. But you know, it's a good chance, you know, to get back in with him, let the coaches reaffirm, you know, our standing with him and everything. But Derek Smith coming, but of course we're playing Auburn. So you would expect that. But I don't know. I think he's still a tough flip back, I would say. But the thing is, you just want to see who gets on campus. Then there's going to be some commits that not on the visit list that's going to pop up. You're going to find out days after they left campus.
Yeah,
and that's when things get interesting. But there's going to be a lot of twists and turns. Like the last 2 weeks have been flipping season. It's a continuous cycle. Things happen like this, so there's gonna be a lot of twists and turns. Just hold on for the ride to a signing day on December 4th.
yeah, I guess you're right. See, she talked to me about it. We're working on getting one of those recruits on your show next week. And London Simmons, who just won his third state championship in a row tonight.
Yeah, shout out to London.
Absolutely.
London Bridge is falling down. Speaking of London, yeah, I mean, that was just pathetic. Like, it was absolutely pathetic. And then we got to sit up here looking crazy with raggedy Auburn coming into Tuscaloosa with their L's. Like they're on to like this loss literally makes them think that they deserve to be in Tuscaloosa. Like, they're horrible, but this makes them feel good. You know what I mean? Like I feel like Alabama this season in particular has done really well at making these subpar teams, and that's exactly what I want to call them, make them look good, and that's ridiculous. This is pathetic. But honestly, I feel like when it comes to recruits, to me, it has more to do with their why. It goes back to the why. Why do you want to come to Alabama in the first place? What was your reasoning? Because I don't believe it could have been NIL. To me, it has to do more with the tradition, what we call the standard. It would be interesting to see what happens. But I'm not these recruits. They're flipping so much, and a lot of them seem to have more interest in, well, what can you do for me in terms of like the monetary compensation, to where I don't even get too excited to some degree when it comes to, this guy committed. I mean, I'm thankful, of course, I'm happy to see it, but I just feel like, what does it really mean nowadays? Because a few years ago, it had a much bigger meaning when a 3 or 4 or 5 star commits to Alabama, so I'm not quite sure with recruiting, but I agree with what Dan said when he said that, it's gonna matter more so who shows up at our game next week. Now, honestly, it would take a miracle for us to end up at number 12. I just but like some of the people are saying in the chat, and I agree to some regard. Do we really want to see Alabama in the college? I mean, I want to see them play in the national championship. To me, we have what it takes. But if we're not functioning and being effective and executing on all levels when it comes to coaching, the players, play calling, the attitudes, the leadership, all of that, the effort, then of course you're not gonna win in those games. So I mean, at this point, Iron Bowl, I'm gonna continue to say what I always say about Auburn. They are raggedy. They are not Alabama. We lost to Oklahoma tonight. We lost to Vanderbilt, and yes, we lost to Tennessee, but we are not Auburn. Auburn, make no mistake. Do not get proud. Do not think you somebody. You are still raggedy Auburn. Like, let that sink. So don't come to Tuscaloosa think you about to do something. Like, I could care less what y'all got to say about that. But
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I just feel like it's very sad because clearly our coaches don't know how to make adjustments. They don't know how to make adjustments. And it seems like they come in with this one ridiculous game plan, and then when things hit the fan at halftime, other teams know how to make adjustments. You mean you walked up in there with that one game plan? Are you serious? Y'all too scared. They up there, Nick Sheridan up in that box like a little squirrel biting on his nails, looking for some doggone like walnuts and acorns to chew on, not knowing how to change. I mean, come on.
You're right.
Oh man.
Before we talk about Auburn, Smoke, talk to me, because this is your arena. You have spent a lot of time recruiting and evaluating. So if your team is coming off of a situation like what we're experiencing tonight, how are you still winning today when it comes to these recruits?
All right. So let me answer your question first, and I'm gonna go back and answer a few of them because I wrote them down. So the way that you're winning off when you're recruits is just you have to have a standard and an understanding of what you're trying to become. Like, one game does not solidify your entire season. This is just one game. They're still going to have a good chance of getting into the conversation, not making it, but into the conversation of being in the playoff. Because there aren't 12 good teams in college football to say flat out they're way better than Alabama. There's different scenarios. 2, the Michael Carroll offensive line situation in Colorado, that's real. Because if you're looking at it, and CC, you said it perfectly, how can you help me? And that's how high school guys are looking. How can you help me? There's no other coach in the United States right now that can help other student athletes is Prime. Just saw what he did for Jordan Seaton. Jordan Seaton did his national commitment on this Undisputed. You saw what Juju did. Juju came on with Pat McAfee. So if I'm Michael Carroll and I'm trying to get notoriety, I'm trying to get publicity, going to Colorado is the number one thing. And when you look at the offensive line play at the University of Alabama, can we all sit and say it's gotten better? Can we say that these guys are getting developed? Those days are done. The days of players going to Alabama for a discount, we call it the Saban discount because a lot of them took it, the Saban discount. And your Saban discount was because you knew in 3 to 4 years, if you played up to the standard, you played against the best in terms of practicing against your fellow teammates, you became better. And when you had an opportunity, you played and you got drafted either first, second, or third round. For example, you have Matt Jones. Matt Jones sat there and waited, and he was in the first round draft pick. Those days aren't there anymore. So the Bama discount removed that. Now, getting to the Bryce Underwood situation. If anyone would have asked me 3 months ago where Bryce Underwood was going to go, I probably would have said LSU. But in the last 2 months, his whole entire crew, and meaning his team, I guess what the young people are calling it, Michigan was a done deal. The LSU situation wasn't happening anymore. And it all comes down to, it's not all NIL, but marketing. This young man is close to Ann Arbor. He's a Detroit kid that has the opportunity to play in-state for the school and also help himself marketing and play well in the Big Ten. And going down to LSU, a lot of his people within his team felt like once he went down to Baton Rouge, he was going to be removed. And just understanding big-time players, the one thing that you don't want to lose, and if you guys track it and you study it, the closer you are, and Dan, you hit on it, to home, the easier it is for your team or whoever is your handler can get to you. Because if once the nails get into the players, a lot of the team players or whatever they call themselves, a part of their team, usually lose these players. So big-time players are going to stay closer to home because you don't want to lose those big-time players to agencies, marketing people, financial people over a period of time. Because once you lose them, they're gone for life.
All right, real quick before we talk about the Iron Bowl, we got a few more super chats. TCB $5. DeBoer's post-game interview is word salad. He's awful. Bama Nation can't stand him. Wake up. Then we got Big Daddy Sutton 1999. All right, so we are going over time, so I want to make sure we talk a little bit about this on our prospective shows next week. We're going to be addressing the Iron Bowl. But where's your comfort level right now? Auburn just came off of a major victory over ranked Texas A&M, number 15 in the country. They're feeling good. Peyton Thorne passed for over 300 yards. He actually resembled a quarterback tonight. So you say the playoffs aren't completely out of the picture. Well, it's minute at this point, but you still got to handle Auburn. My question is, when there's seemingly nothing to play for, what's the mindset of this team? Where is their want to? How far up is that give a damn dial turned for these guys? Yeah, we all say state pride, we all say tradition and whatnot, but to a lot of these new age kids, it doesn't mean anything. You may have a few people here and there on the team that care about the whole rivalry and winning that and having a great record once they leave Alabama, but that time is pretty much gone. So how do you feel next week with Auburn coming to Tuscaloosa for the season finale? Talk to me first, Petty, and we'll go to Jonathan, down to Dan, then Sishi, and then Smoke will clear it up. Sir, I think you're on mute. We cannot hear you.
Oh, no wonder, man. Can y'all get me now? No wonder.
Yes,
I was saying
go
something
for it.
earlier, and everybody was just like, I guess I was just talking to myself. I hit a button like an idiot. You're if you're not worried, you're crazy. Like, because you got to be worried. after a night like tonight, and y'all talked about it, man, does one loss hurt recruiting? No, not really. Now, if you lose a bunch of games, because, man, you don't know the mind. Most of these kids come in like, well, I can make the team better or I can start sooner. People overbuild that shit. But what you do worry about is the way these teams are constructed now, and it's for these championship runs. And when that's gone, what is there left to play for? What do you get out of them? Well, other teams who are still trying to build that didn't have championship aspirations, the Auburns, the Oklahomas, well, they can still preach for the next year. Hey, let's play this one night. Well, guess what? Auburn's going to come in. I'm going to go ahead and say this, and people probably aren't going to like it. Auburn's going to come into that game with more give a shit right now because they weren't playing for a championship. Their season hasn't been broken. They just upset Texas A&M. Freeze can sell them on we're getting better. We're just, a player or two away, yada, yada, love and all this stuff and massage parlors, whatever. But here's the deal. If Bama don't give a shit, they're going to get popped in the mouth. But Bama has the talent to beat the crap out of Auburn. Auburn's not – Thorne still was inaccurate tonight. I had the game on. It's just A&M themselves. They are what they are. They're Texas 8-4. They're good at home at times, but they blow games they're not supposed to. They're garbage on the road, and they're just an average program. That's who they are. And Auburn got them down at the Indian burial ground tonight, and all the spirits were aligned, and that's what happens sometimes down at damn Jordan-Hare. It all got lively, and A&M couldn't fix it. So guess what? Now they believe, and that's what you ran into tonight, a team that believed. And Auburn's got a good defensive front. Now, Peyton Thorne's garbage, but their defense is legit. And if they can do the exact same thing to you that Oklahoma just did. So yeah, they're going to muck it up. So I don't know. This is a what you got test for the future for your guys building. How do you build off, for next year? And because you do got some guys coming out back, this is going to be a test. This is a test the medal week for sure. I don't know where I stand because I feel like what one team's going to come in a little more fired up, and I'm worried about the one I saw tonight. If they're, but hey, man, maybe they rise up, like you said, Justin. A lot of kids these days don't. It doesn't mean what it did to us. These growing up in the old rival, it's just it's not the same thing, man, to them. So I'm, if you're not concerned, you're crazy. But I also know that if they do get off the mat, that Alabama is absolutely capable of kicking the ever-living crap out of Auburn.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jonathan, now I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. As Petty just mentioned, all they have to do is really follow a script of what Oklahoma did tonight defensively. Auburn's got a great defense. They just hadn't had complimentary football going on the other side of things. And really on offense, they can copy what Oklahoma's offense did and just run the ball down our throat. I mean, they got a pretty good running back there who ran for over 200 yards against Kentucky, who has one of the better front sevens in the country, has a guy who's probably going to be in the top 10 on the defensive line. They find a way to do it. But how do you feel about this? Where do you feel like Alabama's mindset is going to be? Hey, we're having our senior night or senior day next week. How much pride kicks in to finish the season the right way?
You can only hope you don't see the same team tonight. And as far as Auburn's concerned, I'm going to make this very simple. Hugh Freeze is still their coach. He can beat Arkansas 9 out of 10 times. It just apparently went in that night. Apparently we got lucky a couple of times beating Ole Miss and Auburn when he was there. I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable, period, because I don't know what the preparation and I don't know what the coaching is going to look like going into this game. I've given up trying to figure it out to see if they're going to be up for the game. The only thing I can think of going forward is we haven't lost at home this year. They've all been away games. But that still doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies in any way, shape, or form. Can Coleman had a great night tonight. Jarquez Hunter went over 100 tonight. Peyton Thorne threw for over 300. So I think Auburn just peaked, and I think we're going to absolutely destroy them if Alabama's in the correct mindset. But I don't know what we're going to see, so I have no idea. I'm just riding with it.
As all of us are. Sishi, pick up where he left off. We all know that Auburn is definitely not going to be on your list of folks to hand out Christmas presents to. But pick up at where Jonathan left off. How do you feel going into this game? Do you feel like Alabama is going to be Alabama one more time this season? And even though we're not accomplishing what we essentially set out to do at the start of this season, we can at least finish it with a victory over Auburn.
Those pack of blueberries that y'all call Auburn, look, okay. I'll just say this because that's what they look like out there. That color that they wear, that's just what that look like, and then they're soft. But anyway, I would say, to me, when it comes to Alabama, it's going to come down to each player individually. Whatever that why is, if they feel like, okay, there's still something, you know what I mean? I think ultimately we all kind of agreed that, we didn't necessarily want to play in the SEC championship game, but you just hate to be in a position where you have to sit up there, sit on your hands and watch how the chips fall for every other team, because we know, that next weekend, it's going to be a big weekend. You have Ohio State and Michigan. It's a lot of big games, Texas and Texas A&M. So, it will be interesting to see what happens, and it's so ironic how Ole Miss, Alabama, and Texas A&M all have their third loss now, and so this is going to kind of go back to the playoff committee when it comes to what you put in writing, those bylaws. Do you really stand by that? Because when you talk about the strength of schedule, when you talk about the strengths of wins versus losses, and also the player availability, all of that has to matter. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that, I feel like the Alabama that we saw tonight should go to the playoffs, but I feel like those coaches that we saw tonight, they should be stuck in Oklahoma. They ain't got no reason to be back down to Tuscaloosa unless they're getting their bags and going back to wherever they came from. And all of them, Coach DeBoer, Nick Sheridan, and Kane Wommack. I've tried to, kind of be patient, which I understand this is still Coach DeBoer's first year. But my thing is, like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. You know what I mean? Well, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so at the end of the day, when you show up the way that you've been showing up throughout the season, the players going to show up like that too. They came out there looking like some little chihuahuas. Wasn't nobody barking. Oklahoma came out there looking like they just like, who shot John and forgot to kill him. It was absurd. It was absurd. There is no reason why we should have Oklahoma sitting up there thinking that there's somebody. Now, I give credit to their defense, but not their offense. Come on. But anyway, I'm not gonna go down that tangent again. I just feel like it's going to come down to each player and who they are as an individual. And it's going to come down to, these little sorry coaches that we have, that little raggedy play calling, what they going to do. Because it seems like they don't know how to call plays. They don't understand how to read offenses and defenses to know what to do. And they have this little one raggedy game plan that they come into every game with. And God forbid that something happens where it doesn't work out. What are we going to do?
Right?
Well, what are we going to do?
It's like you're looking around the room. You're like, hey, you got anything?
I'm just like, this is just the worst that I've ever seen in my life.
It ain't the worst. It ain't the
for
worst.
me. No, I'm what I've seen, what these guys have seen. Maybe you've seen something different.
Were you around for Mike Schuler?
Not enough to give.
I'm
keeping it clean. I'm keeping it clean. I'm keeping it clean. I'm just
I don't, man. There's some games in Birmingham, Alabama that go down as some of the worst things I've ever laid eyes on.
For me and what I've seen, this is the worst. 3 points. That should have been Oklahoma with those 3 points.
So Petty, you're throwing it back to the Southern Miss game, and I was a part of that.
I'm sorry.
Listen, you don't have to apologize.
And he also suffered at Louisiana Tech too. But
I was at La Tech too.
Yeah, you don't have to apologize. I was there, and I can tell you exactly what happens in situations as such. When you have a talented group of players, but the coaches aren't aligned with the players, and you allow players to do whatever they want to do, and we were allowed to. I was a part of that. We ran the entire building. We were young, immature punk kids that were truly talented. That's the same team that won the SEC championship that came out and played awful. So what I'm seeing is I've lived it, I've coached it, I've seen it on every single level. When you are an above average coaching staff, you don't lose games that you are picked to win double digits by.
Right.
That's a lack, and that's embarrassing, period. If you lose games to Vanderbilt when you had a double-digit favorite, that's a slap in the face. Then you come back against an Oklahoma team that's not supposed to be playing in the same game. You're supposed to wipe that team off and get ready to play in the Iron Bowl. Flat out, CC, you said it all night, but I'm just going to agree with you. But I don't want to go on the rant that you went on because I think you did it eloquently. It's
Had you
flat.
laughing the whole time.
No, because it was funny and it was the truth. When I hear things and I have to laugh because I can't be
Yeah.
serious because it is what it is. But when you lose to teams like Vanderbilt, and shout out to Clark Lee and that staff, outstanding, and you come back and you get punched in the face by Oklahoma. Shout out to my man Tackle Bates, Todd Bates, my former teammate, did an outstanding job up front with that defensive line. But you just showed me the lack of you being prepared. And when you come into games, when you are on the road, coaches get you ready to play because players are immature and that's not their job. At home, that's when the players play best because they're comfortable, everything is great. On the road, coaches have to get the player's mind prepared to win a tough game. That's what you get paid for. Home games, you win. So at the end of the day, I think everyone's hit it perfectly on the head. I just don't think this group was prepared well enough. They haven't been coached hard enough. And they just got punched in the face by a team that they shouldn't have lost to. They should have beaten this team by 20 points. They're not even good enough. In the first half, if Oklahoma was an above average team, Bama should have got beaten by 30 points. But the fact that they stayed in the game because you missed field goals, you turned the ball over, and you shouldn't score. That's just a part of it.
Dan, talk to us about the Iron Bowl. Where do you stand in all this? And then we will begin to wind things down, go around the room and give our social medias. But wrap this up for us. How do you feel about the Iron Bowl?
Man, let me tell you this. The Iron Bowls has just went from a must win to a better win. You better win this game. That's just what it is. You know, I mean, Alabama fan base is not a very forgiving fan base. You know, we know that. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to football in the state of Alabama, you know.
No, Dan, you don't say.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. Listen, this Iron Bowl, you know, is really it'll instantly become a hot seat for this coaching staff.
Oh,
After this performance, you lose the Iron Bowl, definitely a hot seat. You know, they'll be looking to get out of Tuscaloosa. You know, we still, you know, we're not past the Vanderbilt loss. You know, but that'll pass.
that's
You know
$90
what I'm
million, Dan. You want to throw that? You got 90 to throw away?
Listen,
Ooh.
lose this game, and we'll definitely be calling for the Bulls' head.
Look, I know you throwing out the money side, Smoke, but this is the fan base that will that will put a brick through a windshield and a U-Haul in a yard.
Right.
Fine, but year one, you firing the guy because
year
one. Right.
You lose this game.
He'll go 10-3. And you want to get rid of him? And what else?
They did to Curry.
Yeah, but that was in the age of giving away $100 million.
Yeah.
Well, true.
Come on, like you fired the board this year. Yeah, you just get ready to get mollywopped for the next 5.
Don't use my words, Smoke. I can see you tuning into my shows, so I appreciate it.
He does.
I need to scratch Raggedy off my list for Monday.
You can have that as the headline of your title.
I'm from Silver Spring, Maryland. I'm a northerner. Mollywop is something that we throw around a lot. It's all good stuff.
CC, that way you got it from Maryland?
No. I used to hear it all the time. Like, yeah, and I just I thought it was.
I might have brought it down to Tuscaloosa. You never know.
You did.
You never know.
That was his gift to the southern states for sure. All right. So normally we like to go around the room and give our players of the game. Well, we don't have those. So we're going to skip that part. We're not going to go that route. I think the players of the game are going to be the pilots on the plane taking us out of Norman and back to Tuscaloosa. So there's that. But what we are going to do is go around the room and tell folks how they can find us on social media, and also go ahead and promote some of the shows we have. Everyone on this panel has shows or is part of this network one way or another. Start us out, Cishi, then go up to Jonathan, then over to Petty, down to Dan, and then Smoke.
Well, you can catch me here on the Bama Standard Network every Wednesday night. I host a show called Crimson Dynasty every Wednesday night, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Dan, who you see here, he's actually one of my co-hosts. So we have a great show. And if y'all go back and watch the episode that we had this week, you'll hear certain things that we pointed out in specific regarding this game that Alabama either did horribly or we just didn't do at all, which would point to coaching. But anywho, and then you can find me on X at official Cishi without the apostrophe, and then you can find me on Instagram at beauty_of_intelligence.
Love it. All right, who's up next? Petty.
John.
Oh, sorry, Jonathan. Sorry.
At Bama Nation John on Twitter. I'll be ramping up doing videos on here at the Bama Standard Network, hopefully collabing with a bunch of the wonderful guest hosts and all that good stuff on here as well, as you can see in the panel.
Good deal. Now Petty, then Dan, then Smoke.
Man, I'm all over the place. You can catch me on Monday night with my man Smoke down there on the opening kick, 7 Central. We've got a lot of crow to eat. We did this last Monday dub Alabama and Ole Miss as legit title contenders. I guess we're gonna have to go back to the draw. Hey man, you were with me on that.
He never agreed to your assessment of Alabama, but he did agree to your assessment of Ole Miss.
Hey, that train ended real quick today. Shit. Yeah. Well, we've got some. I've got some crow to eat. Maybe a little bit of crow. We're going to go back to the drawing board and figure this shit out for next week and get it right. But we will be back Monday on the opening kick, and then Tuesday night after the Bama Standard at 7 Central or 6 Central at 8 Central. We've got the final whistle with my man Dan down there. We got Chris James, Matt Cadell, Ty, Lushawn Graves, man. We got the whole crew of Avengers to try and figure all this out before we go into the Iron Bowl. And God knows what we'll talk about on that show. We never know till it gets there. And then Thursday night, we got a new show. I know it's not time to turn the page completely, but we're kind of getting our tracks in as basketball season. Thursday night, 7:30 Central. Going hard in the paint with my man JT Herb. Just talking Bama basketball, guys. Look, Bama basketball team's the real dang deal. It might be time to just jump on over to being a basketball school for a minute because football's done. I'm just kidding. Hey man, we got a shot at a title there. Come on, man. Is it too soon? Too soon? All right. And that's it. And then I'm here for I'll be here for the hopefully after the Iron Bowl, the post-game show will be a little bit better.
All right. Dan?
Yes. You can catch me on X at the Final Whistle Dan. Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, the Final Whistle with my guy Petty, who's mentioned above. And Wednesday nights, the Crimson Dynasty, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central, with my co-host Cishi. And next Saturday, Iron Bowl, we'll see about that hot seat. Immediately following the game, we're gonna see. I might have my hot plate going. You know what I'm saying? And until then, I'm gonna vow complete silence until we win the Iron Bowl.
I think I now know who threw the brick through Curry's window. We've got the
Wow.
All sources point to him.
You know what? I didn't know you guys were the hot takes were this hot. Dan, you got over $100 million from the UA Alumni Association to pony up and give DeBoer and the staff after 1 year.
We're just gonna stay on this show for long enough to get enough super chats to pay it off.
That's essentially what we're doing.
GoFundMe.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you got to look at it. It's just one bad loss, and there are going to be many more to come if this group continuously to prepare this team the same way.
Smoke. This is one bad loss.
We've had 3 this year.
Yeah, fine. No, well, Tennessee is not a bad loss. You lost to Tennessee, right? Vanderbilt was a bad one. This is the bad one. So if you fire this guy for this bad one, it's tough. Who are you going to find? That's all I'm gonna ask. Because I know that everyone wants to say fire the coach, fire the coach. They suck, they suck, they suck. Bench Milroe, bench Milroe. We got a better quarterback. At some point, you have to work through the issues.
Yeah.
And understand what the issues are. And if you keep looking at the issues are always going to be how much do they really respect the leader that they have. You go back and you read everything that my man Keanu was kicked off this team, what he said, what he did. There's a bunch of stuff that's out there. I've never been a part of a team with a respectable coach that anyone would challenge or say anything about any one of the coach's family members, period. So if you guys do a little bit of research, you just keep on watching the trend of this team. The lack of respect, the lack of understanding of what he demands out of them, you're seeing week in and week out. These players aren't falling in line. And over a period of time, you're just going to see it revolve over and over again. And at some point, you guys might see it 5 years down the line if they fire him. But this isn't the first time you've seen a team play like this. And it's not overly poor execution. It's some. But the lack of desire in playing hard, that means a lot to do with what the coaches are demanding. But I won't rant on that anymore because the show's almost coming to an end. You can find me on X at Coach GV Dixon, on IG Smoke GV Dixon, and you can find me Mondays with my man Daniel. He gave you the time. 7 is our time that we're on, Dan? Central? Eastern time, 8 o'clock, and I'm on the Bama Standard at 6 Central, 7 Eastern with Justin, the funniest man alive, Steve Brown, the most knowledgeable man that has every information that you're looking for on Alabama, Stephen M. Smith, the bodybuilder himself, the sexy guy, Marvin Constant, and myself just being a part of the Bagoon Squad and just being there.
Yes, sir.
Smoke Dixon.
Awesome. Got a few super chats before we head out the door. Don Parker, $5. Playoffs. This team lost to Vandy, Rocky Flop, and Oklahoma. Let's keep it 100. Above average. Okay. Playoff worthy?
Not so
and
much.
it looks like Jordan Haddad thinks that Urban Meyer is the answer to all of Alabama's woes. So that's an option.
No,
TCB, $5.
that?
We lost to Vandy, and that's okay. This is the least amount of points we've scored in 20 years. This is a train wreck. Sugarcoating, this is bad. Okay. Don Parker, $5. That's going to be on flame. Oh, let's see. If Bama loses to, Yes, I remember the Curry brick incident very well. And Jordan is re-emphasizing his initial pick for a replacement with Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer's an excellent coach, but the baggage is definitely not something we need to come into Tuscaloosa for sure. A couple of other shows to mention. Tomorrow night, Sunday night, Talking Bama. Got JB, JT, and Stephen M. Smith going live at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. 24 hours after the devastating loss, they're going to break things down a little bit more, but then also kind of look ahead to what we're dealing with in terms of the Iron Bowl. And Smoke has already mentioned it. Tuesday night, 6 p.m. Central, the Bama Standard, the flagship show, will be live, and you get to hear from Marvin Constant. He has a lot he wants to say, and if you thought we were animated tonight, just wait. Get your popcorn
I tried to get him
ready.
on the show tonight, Justin. I was like, Marvin, you need to come. He's like, I've had too much tequila, and they don't want to hear what I say. It's like, no, tonight's the night. Bring it.
So
he's just gonna blame everybody for what
we need that T-Bob Aberry energy tonight.
So the Bama Standard will be burning Tuesday night, so check us all out. But we thank everyone for being here. First and foremost, thank you to all the fans who've been with us all season. And thank y'all for the super chats tonight. You don't have to do that, and we'll never ask for it, but we're very grateful for everything you provide. If even it's just your presence and your time is greatly appreciated. But we will see you again this coming week on all of our shows, and then we will be back for the post-game show immediately following the Iron Bowl. Until then,
Hey, Justin, quick question. Can I ask you something real quick?
You can.
when you guys watched the Alabama spring game and you saw the brown grass on the football field, what did y'all think about the season?
It may have been a foreshadowing.
That's where the standard started. Go ahead.
Yeah, excellent point. You cannot avoid that.
You would have
And,
never seen that with Coach Saban. That would have been pristine
mm,
grass, and the Bermuda grass would have been painted if it had to.
man,
But that's what you guys live for. That's what you see. Sorry about that. Sorry, Cece. I know you gotta get to your drink.
no,
No, I don't
I
drink
get it.
alcohol.
It
Not
looked
anymore.
it looked like we were playing on a high school 1A field, but you know.
That's the first step of standard. So believe it.
And John Parker thinks that Bill Belichick is the answer. So
No,
keep pointing them in. But that's going to do it for all of us. We've been here long enough. We'll see you next week. Until then, roll tide, everyone.
Oh, God.